Hey everyone, welcome to AlphaToSky. This is a video about the Chicago Convention. So we'll be solving few questions based on the articles 1 to 16. Uh, there was a previous video which explained these articles. If you haven't watched that video, I will leave a link on the top. Make sure you watch that video. It will be helpful in answering these questions. Let's get started. The first question: what is the main purpose of the Chicago Convention? First option, military air operations. So Chicago Convention was not about improving military air operations or anything about that. Regulate maritime navigation, no. Promote safe and orderly international civil aviation, yes. So Chicago Convention, the main goal of Chicago Convention was to improve international aviation and safety of international aviation. The fourth option, create airline marketing strategies. No, Chicago Convention does not talk about marketing strategies. So the correct option is the third one. Next, which article of the Chicago Convention defines the complete and exclusive sovereignty of a state over its airspace? So as we know, state here represents a country, right? So which article of the Chicago Convention defines complete and exclusive sovereignty? So Article 2 is the one which defines a territory. What is termed as a territory is mentioned in the Article 2. So the land, territory plus the waters up to 12 nautical miles is termed as territory of a state, right? Article 3 talks about the civil and state aircrafts. So the rules that were defined are applicable to the civil aircrafts, not the state aircrafts. The state aircrafts are the ones that are used by military and the government. And Article 4 talks about misuse of civil aviation, misuse of the rights that are available to civil aviation through this convention. So the correct answer is sovereignty, Article 1. Third question, according to Article 5, which type of aircraft may fly over the territory of another contracting state without prior permission? As we know, every state has exclusive rights over its airspace. They have sovereignty over their airspace, so they can allow or deny any aircraft from any other state. So which aircraft has the right to fly over without taking prior permission? Private aircrafts, no, because when private aircrafts are flying across the countries, they need to provide a flight plan and get the approval in advance, right? State aircraft, no, because none of the articles in Chicago Convention apply on the state aircrafts. They have their special rules which are not governed under the Chicago Convention, right? Scheduled international air services. These are the commercial air services which need a flight plan, a proper flight plan, an approval before flying over any other state, any other airspace, right? Non-scheduled commercial aircraft, yes. So these are the charter flights. An example will be a charter flight, which are non-scheduled, but they are commercial aircrafts. So the correct answer is non-scheduled commercial aircrafts. They do not need prior permission and can fly over any other contracting state and use their airspace. So the correct option is option D, non-scheduled commercial aircraft. Question number 4. Which article prohibits the use of civil aviation for purposes inconsistent with the convention's aims? Prohibits the use of civil aviation, right? So Chicago Convention mentions the use of civil aviation and gives some rights to these aircrafts, to these contracting states. So which of these is inconsistent with the rights provided for the civil aviation under Chicago Convention? Which article talks about that? Right. So Article 6 talks about scheduled air services. Right. Article 6 talks about what are the rights available for the aircrafts that are flying on a scheduled basis. They have their schedule approved. Right. Article 3 talks about civil and state aircrafts, as we know. And Article 8 talks about the pilotless aircraft. So pilotless aircraft needs to be flown with certain responsibilities. They should be carefully flown in areas where there could be the civil aircrafts. Right? So they have some limitations, which is discussed in Article 8. And Article 4 is the one which talks about the misuse of civil aviation, misuse of the rights available to civil aviation. There could be misuse like smuggling or spying on another country. So a country cannot use the civil aviation rights under Chicago Convention for any of these purposes. So the correct answer is misuse of civil aviation, Article 4. Question number 5. What does Article 6 of the Chicago Convention state about scheduled international air services? Scheduled services, right? Commercial services which are scheduled, which have a proper schedule approved from the states. Option A, they are free to operate globally. No, they are since they are scheduled services, they need prior approval of their flight plan before flying over the airspace of any other state. They must be approved by ICAO. No, because the flight plans are not approved by ICAO. They are approved by other authorities. So the correct answer is they require special permission from the state flown over. So if they are flying over the airspace of another state, they need special permission before doing that. Question number 6. Under Article 10, when must aircraft landing in or departing from a contracting state report to customs and immigration? So there's an international flight. It is landing or taking off from a particular country. When does it need to go through the customs and immigration, report to the customs and immigration? Is it only for international flights? Is it only when carrying cargo? Or is it always at designated customs airports? Or is it never if it's a private aircraft? It should, since it is an international aircraft, right, and it is at an airport which has the customs and immigration facility, so it is expected to always report to the customs and immigration as per Article 10. So the correct option is option C, always at designated customs airports. Question number 7. Which article focuses on quarantine and public health measures? As we know, the aircraft entering into a state needs to follow their guidelines for quarantine or other health regulations, safety regulations, right? So Article 16 talks about search of aircraft. The authorities of the state where the aircraft is landing or taking off have the right to search the aircraft for any suspicious materials, or they can even search for the documents. Now they can look into the documents of that particular aircraft. Article 13 talks about entry and clearance regulations. Article 15 talks about airport and similar charges. So every state should provide the airport and other services to the international aircrafts and with similar charges. That's what Article 15 talks about. And Article 14 is the one which talks about preventing the spread of diseases by following the health safety guidelines. So the correct answer is B, Article 14. Question number 8. Which article defines what is meant by the territory of a state under the Chicago Convention? As we know, Article 1 talks about the sovereignty. Every state has sovereignty over the airspace, over its territory. And what is meant by the territory is described in Article 2, right? Because Article 3 talks about the civil and state aircraft. Article 7 talks about the right of a non-scheduled flight. So the correct answer is Article 2, which talks about the territory. Question number 9. According to Article 11, what must foreign aircraft comply with when flying within the territory of another contracting state? So an aircraft is flying over another contracting state. What are the rules applicable to that aircraft? What should it follow? Option A, ICAO rules only. Option B, only their own national laws. Option C, the laws and regulations of the state they are flying over. Option D, none if they are non-scheduled. So when an aircraft is flying over the airspace of another country, they are supposed to follow the rules and regulations regarding navigation of that country, because that country has sovereignty over its own airspace. So they have the full rights of their airspace, and thus the aircraft flying in their airspace should follow their regulations, irrespective of the nationality of the aircraft or the registration country of that aircraft. So the correct answer is option C, the laws and regulations of the state they are flying over. Question number 10. What does Article 15 state regarding airport and route charges? So there are charges for various airport services. The services that are provided in the airport for navigation, for weather, and all those services, there is a charge associated with those services. So any airline using that services needs to pay those charges. So what does Article 15 state about those charges? So when international navigation, in international navigation, a state is expected to provide those services to aircraft from other states, right? Only then the international navigation, international aviation will be smooth, and it will be favored. So these charges, the charges for these services should be fair, and it should be similar to what they charge to their own aircrafts. So the correct answer is B. Charges must be fair and applied equally to national and foreign aircraft. Under Article 16, which of the following is true regarding inspection of aircraft by the authorities of a state? So an aircraft from another state just landed or maybe taking off from another state, right, which is not its which is not its state of registration, and the authorities of that state got a suspicious information about that aircraft. So they have the full rights to search that aircraft, right? They have the right to search that aircraft and also inspect about its airworthiness, right? They can inspect the documents for that aircraft, inspect the registration details for that aircraft. So the authorities have full rights to do that. The correct answer is B. Inspections can be made without causing unreasonable delay. So there should not be any delay because of these inspections, and those inspections should be planned properly. All right, that was it. If you got all these answers correct, very good. If you got a few of them wrong, you can always watch the video for the explanation of these articles, and you can always come back and solve these questions. If you like this video, do like, share and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, please post in the comments. That will help me improve, and thank you so much. See you in the next one.